Welcome to our PHP web course. In this class, we will cover several topics. Includes, constants, a postback, redisplaying form values, and the header function. Up to now, we have been processing our forms with a separate PHP file. Supposing we wanted to display the error message and the result to the user on the same page as the form. That would be known as a postback. A postback is posting a file back to itself or posting the form back to itself. We are posting back to the same page that the form is on, meaning we are using the same URL as the form. In PHP, we have the $_server global variable. Given the parameter php_self will return the file name of the current page. This is typically used as the action of the form in order so that the form data is sent back to the page itself instead of going to a different page. So here is the syntax using the action of the form. Notice that we are also using the HTML special chars function in the event that someone were to intercept this URL and try to do some malicious damage. I would like to point out if your action is left empty, technically that will do the postback. It will post the form back to that same page. However, that is not professional. It is not a good idea to use that. Please use the $_server global variable to do that. Let's take a look at how we would typically code a PHP page. At the top, we would generally be retrieving the values from the form and storing them in a variable. Somewhere in the body, we would have PHP statements that will be echoing different types of messages to the user. So if we were to use the actual page as the action of the form, we might have a problem if we coded the form this way. PHP reads from the top down, and the minute this page is loaded, it's going to read this first statement. It's not going to know what $_post name is because it hasn't even read the HTML yet, let alone the form being submitted. Also, if there are error messages defined or results defined somewhere in the processing, these echo statements will also generate an error message because when the page loads, they have not yet been defined. The goal when using a postback is to prevent the PHP code that has anything to do with the form from being read until the form has actually been submitted. How do we know when the form has actually been submitted? We have a $_server global variable, the same one we used already, and we have a request method. One of the values of the request method is post, which is what our method is in our form, although I did not put it in there because this is just a PowerPoint demo. So once the form is submitted, this will return true, and then we can start examining the form values and working with the data. However, if we have a placeholder in our body with a PHP echo statement, there's no way of hiding that when the page loads. Therefore, you need to remember to initialize all variables to an empty string so that when the page loads, it does not cause an error message for an undefined variable. Another approach commonly used to determine whether the form has been submitted or not is to check for the existence of a name-value pair. That is done using the isSet function. You can check for a hidden field, as I am doing in this example, or you can check for an element on the page. You can also check for the submit button if it has a name. These form elements, these name-value pairs, will not exist until they are submitted to the form, so that is another way of testing that the form has been submitted. And if it has, all of the code that pertains to the form will be written inside that if block. One strange thing about a postback is after the data is sent to that same page, it disappears from inside the form. It's more professional to see the values there. We can do that by writing some PHP code. We can code in the value for the form elements using PHP and the echo statement, similar to how we would code an error message. That value will not be really available until the form has been submitted. Therefore, you need to initialize that to an empty string at the top of your page so that when the page loads, you do not get an error message. I would finally like to talk about HTTP headers. Whenever the browser and server communicate back and forth, they send headers back and forth. They are referred to as HTTP headers. They transmit certain types of information, such as the type of request, the program making the request, the date of the request, how it should be displayed, how long the document is, and other things. PHP also has the ability to work with headers. There is a PHP header that will tell the browser not to cache the page, that will tell the browser the content type, and that will tell the browser to redirect a page. I will focus on page redirection. The other types of headers are available online should you wish to learn more about them. Redirect a page in PHP by using the header function and the location property as seen here. We typically tell the browser where we want that page to be redirected to. This might be useful if you have a generic thank you page that you would like to send the user to after successfully filling out a form. In PHP, we also have the exit function. That is sometimes used in conjunction with the header function. And what that does, it will stop the execution of any further scripts that might be written so that they are not interfering or showing up while the page is being redirected. We also have a refresh property in PHP, which allows you to redirect the page after a certain amount of seconds. And this would be the syntax to do that, and the 5 would indicate 5 seconds. There is also a meta tag in HTML that is very similar to this that does the same thing.